Maxwell Drake, a man celebrated for his immense fortune and incisive business acumen, had built a life that most could only dream about. At 45 years old, Maxwell had reached heights few ever imagined. He was a self-made billionaire, known for his shrewd investments and visionary leadership. Yet despite his staggering wealth and the dazzling world of high-stakes boardrooms and luxury living he inhabited, Maxwell never lost sight of a simple, guiding principle. No matter how high one ascends, one must never forget one's roots. He always believed that humility and genuine human connection were more valuable than any material excess, and he strove to live by that creed. However, life, as it often does, had a way of humbling even the most prepared soul. During a business trip to the historic and enchanting city of Istanbul, a place where ancient traditions met modern ambition, Maxwell found himself confronting an unexpected and dangerous situation. One cool evening, after concluding a long and arduous series of meetings in a small but vibrant district near the Golden Horn, he set out on foot along the narrow cobbled alleys that wound their way through the ancient quarter. The twilight in Istanbul cast long, shifting shadows on the time-worn stone walls, and Maxwell, lost in his thoughts about the deals of the day, walked briskly toward his modest hotel. Out of nowhere, in a dimly lit alleyway far from the main thoroughfare, he was suddenly surrounded by a ragged group of masked thieves. Before Maxwell could muster a reaction, the assailants descended upon him with startling speed, their voices harsh and insistent as they demanded every possession of value. In a matter of moments, the man who had once exuded confidence in the boardroom found himself rendered utterly vulnerable. Maxwell lost his wallet, his passport, his mobile phone, and even the expensive watch that had been a token of esteem from a longtime business partner. The thieves, satisfied with their haul, vanished into the night, leaving Maxwell stranded, disoriented, and with no means to contact anyone for assistance. As he staggered back onto the main street, the full weight of his predicament bore down on him. He was alone in a foreign city, with no identification, no money, and no one to turn to. The bustling, vibrant Istanbul he had admired just hours earlier now appeared cold, indifferent, and unyielding. The crowded sidewalks, teeming with locals and tourists alike, offered no comfort. People hurried past him, too absorbed in their own lives to spare a glance for a disheveled man who looked completely out of place. Maxwell attempted to approach several passers-by, his voice tinged with desperation as he explained his situation and pleaded for help. Yet, to his dismay, he was met with skeptical glances and curt refusals. To those around him, he was nothing more than another stranger with a lamentable story, a man who had somehow managed to fall from grace in a foreign land. As the night deepened, Maxwell's anxiety grew. The once bustling streets gradually emptied, and the cool night air began to bite through his thin, inadequate coat. Hunger gnawed at his stomach, and his weary legs threatened to give out beneath the cumulative weight of exhaustion and despair. Just when he felt that hope was vanishing, a soft, welcoming light caught his eye. A small, unassuming diner with a flickering neon sign that promised warmth and refuge in the darkness. Though Maxwell hesitated for a heartbeat, uncertain whether he could endure another round of rejection, the urgency of his hunger and the exhaustion of his spirit propelled him forward. He pushed open the door of the modest establishment, and a gentle chime from an overhead bell announced his entrance. The inviting aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the savory scent of sizzling bacon, momentarily lifting his despondency. Inside the diner, named Bella's Bistro, a modest yet cozy atmosphere prevailed. Checkered tablecloths draped over the few tables, and a handful of patrons quietly enjoyed their meals in comfortable solitude. Seeking to avoid drawing attention to himself, Maxwell chose a seat in the far corner of the room, his eyes scanning the space as he tried to steady his troubled mind. It was not long before a young waitress approached his table. Rachel Summers, a bright-eyed woman in her early 20s with an inherently kind demeanor and a smile that radiated warmth, greeted him in a gentle tone. "Good evening, and welcome to Bella's Bistro. What can I get for you tonight?" she asked, her voice filled with genuine care. For a moment, Maxwell was at a loss for words. He was unsure how to explain his dire situation without sounding implausible or drawing unwanted attention. Finally, gathering his remaining resolve, he took a deep breath and spoke in a measured tone. "I'm terribly sorry, but I have no money. I was robbed earlier this evening, and now I find myself stranded here with nothing. I really just need some help to get through the night." Rachel's expression softened immediately. She glanced around discreetly to ensure that no one was eavesdropping on their conversation before leaning in slightly, her concern evident. "That's terrible. Are you all right? Did you manage to call the police?" she inquired, her voice low and caring. Maxwell admitted, his voice tinged with defeat. "I tried, but without my ID or phone, they couldn't do much to help me." His words trailed off as he added, "I just need a little help to get through tonight. I'll figure out the rest tomorrow." Rachel offered him a reassuring nod, her eyes conveying empathy and understanding. "Please, stay right here," she said softly. "I'll be back in just a minute." Maxwell watched as she disappeared behind the counter, each step echoing like a promise of relief in the stillness of the diner. A few minutes later she returned with a steaming plate of food and a freshly poured cup of coffee, setting them down in front of him with a kind smile. "Here you go," she said gently. "Don't worry about the bill. It's on me." Overwhelmed by her unexpected generosity, Maxwell stared at the plate, his heart touched by the selfless act. "Thank you," he managed to say, his voice thick with gratitude. "I don't know how I can ever repay you." Rachel simply shrugged, her smile unwavering. "You don't have to repay me," she replied quietly. "Sometimes, people just need a little help. If I were in your shoes, I'd hope someone would do the same." After Maxwell finished his meal, Rachel quietly slipped an envelope onto the table. "It's not much, but this should help you get to your consulate or wherever you need to go," she whispered. Opening the envelope, Maxwell found a few crumpled bills inside. He looked up at her, his eyes wide with disbelief. "You're giving me your own money?" he asked softly. Rachel nodded, her gaze steady and kind. "You need it more than I do right now," she explained. Then, with a playful wink, she added, "Just promise me one thing. Pay it forward someday." As Maxwell left Bella's bistro that night, her words echoed in his mind. Despite the tumult of events and the losses he had suffered, he felt a surge of hope. He vowed to himself that if fate ever allowed him the chance, he would repay her kindness tenfold. For now, however, he walked into the cool night with a renewed spirit, the memory of a compassionate waitress rekindling his belief in the power of human generosity. In the months that followed, Maxwell Drake's life slowly returned to its familiar rhythm of towering skyscrapers and high-stakes business deals. Yet, even as he navigated boardrooms and negotiated multi-million-dollar contracts, he could never forget the night when a young waitress had reached out to him in his darkest hour. Her face, her words, and the warmth of her gesture lingered in his mind, a constant reminder that true wealth was not measured in dollars and cents, but in the simple, enduring beauty of kindness. Maxwell had everything money could buy: power, influence, and recognition. But that one act of genuine compassion had restored something far more valuable: his faith in humanity. One radiant afternoon, as Maxwell was being chauffeured through the bustling streets of New York City in his sleek black luxury car, he caught sight of a familiar figure walking along the sidewalk. It was Rachel. She was not wearing her uniform from Bella's bistro, and she appeared tired, her shoulders slumped and her head bowed in quiet despair. Intrigued and deeply concerned, Maxwell signaled his driver to pull over. Rolling down the tinted window, he called out, "Rachel!" Startled, she turned toward the car, squinting to recognize the man inside. It took her a moment to register his face. After all, the last time they had met, he had been disheveled and vulnerable from his ordeal in Istanbul. Now, however, he was the epitome of refined success, sharply dressed in a tailored suit, his presence commanding and polished. "Do I know you?" Rachel asked cautiously as she stepped closer to the vehicle. Maxwell smiled warmly. "You might not remember me, but I remember you," he said gently. "You helped me when I was in trouble that night. May I offer you a ride somewhere?" Rachel hesitated briefly, her eyes flickering with uncertainty as she glanced at the expensive car and then at Maxwell's earnest face. Something about him, his kindness, his calm assurance, made her feel that he could be trusted. "All right. I suppose I could use a ride," she agreed softly. As the car pulled away from the curb, Maxwell asked, "You look upset. Is everything all right?" With a heavy sigh, Rachel replied, "Not really. I lost my job at the diner a few days ago. They said business was slowing down and I was let go. I've been searching for work ever since, but it's hard to find anything decent." Maxwell listened intently, his heart sinking as he saw the strain and uncertainty in her eyes. This was the moment he had been waiting for, the chance to repay the kindness that had once saved him in a moment of utter desperation. "I might have a solution for you," he said after a thoughtful pause. Rachel looked at him, puzzled. "A solution? What do you mean?" Maxwell's eyes twinkled as he replied, "I have a job opportunity for someone with a good heart and strong work ethic. But first, I'd like you to come with me to my home. I think everything will make more sense once you see it." Rachel raised an eyebrow in mild suspicion. "Your home? Why would someone like you, a billionaire, offer me a job when we barely know each other?" she asked quietly. Maxwell chuckled softly and said, "Trust me, Rachel. I know enough about you to see that you deserve a better opportunity. Just give me a chance to explain." Reluctantly, with nothing left to lose but hope, Rachel agreed. As the car drove through the more affluent neighborhoods of Manhattan, Rachel's eyes widened at the sight of towering office buildings, elegant brownstones, and well-manicured gardens that belonged to an entirely different world from the one she knew. When the car finally pulled up to a sprawling estate with lush gardens and marble fountains, Rachel's breath caught in her throat. Who are you, really?" she stammered as she stepped out of the vehicle, her voice trembling with awe and apprehension. Maxwell greeted her with a warm, inviting smile and gestured toward the grand entrance. "Please, come inside," he said. "I want to explain everything." They entered a magnificent foyer where opulence met unstated elegance. Walls were adorned with fine art, and the polished marble floor sparkled under the glow of crystal chandeliers. Maxwell led Rachel to a cozy sitting room where tea and light refreshments had been arranged in anticipation of their meeting. Once they were seated, Maxwell leaned forward, his expression earnest yet gentle. "Rachel," he began softly, "there's something I've been meaning to tell you for a long time. Do you remember that night at Bella's Bistro in Istanbul, the night you helped me when I was completely stranded?" Rachel's eyes widened in recognition as she nodded slowly. "Yes, I remember," she whispered. I wished I could have done more for you." Maxwell took a deep breath and continued, "That night, you didn't merely provide me with a meal and a safe place to rest. You gave me hope. You reminded me that even when all seems lost, a single act of compassion can light the way forward." His voice faltered slightly as he added, "I was in a desperate state, and you stepped in without hesitation, offering not only food and shelter but even money to help me get through the night. I vowed to repay that kindness, to honor your generosity." Rachel's eyes shimmered with unshed tears as she listened. "Rachel," Maxwell said, his tone tender and resolute, "your kindness that night changed everything for me. It made me realize that the true measure of wealth isn't found in bank balances or material possessions, but in the human connections we forge. I want to offer you a chance to change your own life. I'd like to offer you a managerial position in one of my restaurant chains, one where you can truly shine and be recognized for your remarkable abilities. You deserve stability, respect, and a future free from the uncertainty you've endured." For several long moments, silence reigned as Rachel absorbed his words. At last, through tears that blurred her vision, she managed to whisper, "You'd really do that for me, even though we barely know each other?" Maxwell nodded, his gaze unwavering. "Yes, absolutely," he said firmly. "I know what it's like to feel lost and abandoned. I built my empire from nothing, but that night, your generosity reminded me of the beauty of human kindness, a beauty I never want to lose. I want to help you, to provide you with the opportunity to create the life you deserve." Overwhelmed by gratitude and emotion, Rachel's voice trembled as she replied, I don't know what to say. Thank you, Maxwell. Thank you for believing in me." Maxwell reached across the table and gently squeezed her hand. "There's no need for thanks," he murmured. "Just promise me one thing, always pay it forward. When you have the chance to help someone in need, remember that night and extend your hand in kindness, just as you did for me." Rachel nodded, the promise resonating deep within her heart. In the weeks that followed, Maxwell ensured that Rachel received every opportunity to succeed. Under his careful mentorship, she learned the intricacies of business management and quickly transformed from a vulnerable waitress into a confident, capable manager. The once dim prospects of her life began to brighten as she assumed her new responsibilities in one of Maxwell's restaurant chains. Her innate warmth, attention to detail, and unwavering work ethic turned the establishments under her care into havens of genuine hospitality, drawing praise from customers and colleagues alike. Maxwell, ever mindful of the debt he owed to the compassion that had once saved him, continued to guide Rachel personally, sharing the lessons that had shaped his own journey to success. As time passed, the bond between Maxwell and Rachel deepened, evolving into a friendship built on mutual respect, trust, and a shared belief in the transformative power of kindness. Their unlikely connection, a billionaire who had once been brought low by misfortune, and a young woman whose simple act of generosity had rekindled his hope, became a living testament to the idea that the smallest gestures can have far-reaching consequences. One crisp autumn afternoon, as Maxwell was being chauffeured through the bustling streets of Manhattan in his luxurious black sedan, he caught sight of a familiar figure walking along the sidewalk. It was Rachel, this time not in her uniform but dressed in simple attire that reflected the everyday struggles of her recent circumstances. Though her posture was weary and her eyes carried the weight of recent hardships, Maxwell's heart swelled with gratitude and concern. He signaled his driver to pull over and rolled down the window, calling out softly, "Rachel!" Startled, Rachel turned toward the car, her gaze narrowing as she tried to reconcile the sharply dressed man before her with the stranger from that fateful night. "Do I know you?" she asked hesitantly. Maxwell's warm smile widened as he replied, "You might not remember clearly, but I remember you well. You helped me when I was in desperate trouble that night in Istanbul. May I offer you a ride?" Rachel hesitated for a moment, glancing at the gleaming sedan and then back at Maxwell's sincere eyes. Finally, moved by the recollection of kindness and a budding trust, she nodded. "All right. I could use a ride," she said quietly. As the car pulled away from the curb, Maxwell gently inquired, "You seem troubled, Rachel. Is everything all right?" With a heavy sigh, Rachel confided, "I lost my job at the diner a few days ago. They said business was slowing down and I was let go. Ever since, I've been struggling to find something steady. It's been really hard." Maxwell listened intently, his expression softening with empathy as he absorbed her words. This was the moment he had long awaited, the chance to return the kindness that had once rescued him. "I might have a solution for you," he said thoughtfully after a moment's pause. Rachel looked at him, puzzled. "A solution? What do you mean?" Maxwell's eyes gleamed with determination as he replied, "I have an opportunity, a job specifically. I want to offer you a position, not as a waitress, but as a manager within one of my restaurant chains. I believe in your potential, and I know you deserve a better future." Rachel's eyes widened in disbelief, her mind racing with uncertainty. "Your home, your restaurants. Why would someone like you offer me such a chance when we barely know each other?" she asked softly. Maxwell chuckled gently and said, "Trust me, Rachel. I know what it's like to feel abandoned by fate. I built my success from nothing, but your kindness that night reminded me that the true treasures of life are found in human connection. You deserve stability and respect, and I want to help you achieve that." Reluctantly, with a flicker of hope igniting within her, Rachel agreed to accompany him. As the sedan navigated the elegant avenues of Manhattan, Rachel marveled at the opulence of her surroundings. The majestic office towers, the impeccably maintained parks, and the stately mansions that spoke of a world far removed from her own recent struggles. When the car finally arrived at Maxwell's estate, a sprawling property with manicured lawns, ornate fountains, and an air of timeless sophistication, Rachel's breath caught in her throat. Who are you, really?" she managed to ask, her voice trembling with a mix of awe and apprehension as she stepped out of the car. Maxwell greeted her with a gentle smile and extended his arm in welcome. "Please come inside," he said softly. "I'd like to explain everything." Inside the grand foyer, where polished marble met soft ambient lighting and fine art adorned the walls, Maxwell led Rachel into a warm and inviting sitting room. Here, over a pot of freshly brewed tea and light, thoughtfully prepared snacks, Maxwell shared his story, the night he had been left stranded in Istanbul, the brutality of being robbed, and how a simple act of kindness had rekindled his hope. "Rachel," he said, his voice imbued with genuine emotion, "I was lost that night, not just physically but in spirit, and you, with your compassion, gave me the strength to believe in the goodness of people once more. I made a promise to myself that if ever I had the chance, I would repay that kindness in a way that could change someone's life. And now, I want to offer you that opportunity." Rachel listened, tears welling in her eyes as Maxwell's words resonated deep within her. I can't believe you'd do this," she whispered, barely able to comprehend the magnitude of his generosity. "I thought I was just another faceless employee, struggling to get by." Maxwell reached across the table and gently squeezed her hand. "You are so much more than that, Rachel. You have a heart of gold and a strength that inspires everyone around you. I want to give you the stability and opportunity you deserve, not just as a token of gratitude for that fateful night, but because I truly believe in paying kindness forward. Please, accept this chance to build a future that reflects your worth." Over the ensuing weeks, under Maxwell's attentive mentorship, Rachel transformed her life. She embraced her new role as a manager with unwavering dedication, learning the nuances of business operations, team leadership, and customer service with a passion that quickly earned her respect throughout the organization. The restaurants she managed became known not only for their fine cuisine, but also for the warm, inviting atmosphere that she nurtured, a living tribute to the power of compassion and hard work. Maxwell, true to his word, continued to support her every step of the way, sharing lessons from his own journey and reminding her that the true measure of success lay in one's capacity for kindness and resilience. As time passed, the bond between Maxwell and Rachel grew stronger, evolving from a transaction of generosity into a profound friendship founded on trust, respect, and shared values. Their unlikely connection, a billionaire who had once been humbled by misfortune and a young woman whose simple act of selflessness had rekindled his hope, became an inspiring story that resonated with all who heard it. One crisp autumn day, while Maxwell was hosting a charity luncheon at one of his flagship establishments, he spotted Rachel moving gracefully among the guests, her presence exuding quiet determination despite the hardships she had faced. He approached her, his eyes shining with pride and affection, and said, "Rachel, I want you to know how incredibly proud I am of you. You've turned your struggles into strengths, and you've become an inspiration to so many." Rachel, her voice soft and filled with emotion, replied, "Maxwell, I wouldn't be where I am today without your belief in me. You showed me that even in our darkest moments, there's a light of hope waiting to guide us forward. I promise I'll always remember to pay it forward." In the years that followed, Maxwell's empire continued to grow, and Rachel became a symbol of perseverance and transformation. Her journey from the vulnerable waitress at Bella's Bistro in Istanbul to a confident manager in a thriving restaurant chain was celebrated as a testament to the indomitable human spirit and the ripple effect of a single act of kindness. Maxwell never forgot the bitter night when he had been robbed and left destitute, nor the tender moment when a young woman had restored his faith in humanity. In quiet moments of reflection, as he gazed out at the glittering New York City skyline from his private office, he would recall that night with gratitude and wonder. Grateful not for the wealth he had amassed, but for the reminder that true success lies in our capacity to care for one another. Then, one bright and clear afternoon, as Maxwell was being driven along a bustling Manhattan street in his luxurious black sedan, he again caught sight of Rachel. This time she walked along the sidewalk with a weary but determined look, the burdens of recent setbacks evident in her posture. Without hesitation, Maxwell signaled his driver to pull over and rolled down the window. "Rachel," he called out warmly. Startled, she turned to face the car. It took a moment for her to recognize the familiar face behind the window, a face that had once been etched in her memory from a chance encounter in a faraway land. "Maxwell? Is that really you?" she asked, her voice trembling with a mix of surprise and relief. "Yes, it's me," he replied, his smile gentle yet unmistakably kind. I've been thinking about you and wanted to see how—" Rachel's eyes, glistening with unshed tears, reflected a deep gratitude as she hesitantly accepted his invitation. I've been struggling, Maxwell," she admitted quietly. "I lost my job at the diner and it's been hard trying to find something stable. I'm not sure what I'll do next." Maxwell's heart ached at her words. "Come with me, Rachel," he said softly. "Let's talk somewhere more comfortable." They soon found themselves seated in a cozy corner of a quiet cafe, away from the city's relentless pace. Over steaming cups of coffee, Rachel poured out the details of her recent hardships. The uncertainty, the disappointment, and the lingering memory of the night that had once changed everything for both of them. Maxwell listened intently, his expression one of deep empathy and resolve. "Rachel," he began, his voice steady and sincere, "I want you to know that I never forgot the kindness you showed me that night in Istanbul. You gave me hope when I had nothing left, and that act of compassion changed my life. Now, I want to offer you a chance to rebuild yours. I want you to join my team as a manager in one of my restaurant chains. I know that with your talent and your heart you can achieve great things." Rachel's eyes widened in disbelief, her emotions a tangled mix of hope and trepidation. You're offering me a job?" she stammered. Maxwell nodded, his smile warm and reassuring. "Yes, Rachel. I believe in paying kindness forward. You deserve the chance to succeed, and I want to help you do just that." In the weeks and months that followed, Rachel embraced her new role with an inspiring blend of determination and grace. Under Maxwell's careful guidance, she mastered the complexities of managing a business, transforming the restaurants she oversaw into beacons of warmth and genuine hospitality. Her innate ability to connect with people, coupled with her unyielding work ethic, soon earned her accolades not only from customers, but also from her colleagues and the broader business community. Maxwell, ever the mentor, continued to share his wisdom, often reminding her that true success was measured not in monetary gains, but in the lives touched along the way. As the seasons changed, so too did the dynamic between Maxwell and Rachel. Their relationship evolved beyond the realms of employer and employee, growing into a deep and abiding friendship founded on trust, mutual respect, and a shared commitment to making the world a kinder place. One chilly winter evening, as the city lights of New York sparkled like distant stars against the night sky, Maxwell invited Rachel to a small gathering at one of his upscale restaurants. Amid the gentle hum of conversation and the soft clinking of glasses, Maxwell took a quiet moment to pull Rachel aside. "Rachel," he said, his tone imbued with heartfelt sincerity, "I want you to know how much you mean to me. Your courage and kindness not only saved me that night in Istanbul, but they continue to inspire me every day. I'm so proud of everything you've accomplished, and I want you to always remember that you have the power to change lives, even your own." Rachel's eyes shimmered with gratitude as she replied, "Maxwell, I never imagined that a single act of kindness could lead to so much. You changed my life when I needed it most, and I promise I'll always pay it forward, just as you taught me." In that moment, amidst the warmth of shared understanding and the glow of flickering candlelight, the two friends recognized that their fates had been irrevocably intertwined. Their story, a billionaire humbled by misfortune and a young woman whose compassion had illuminated his darkest hours, had become a living testament to the transformative power of human connection. Over time, the inspiring tale of Maxwell Drake and Rachel Summers spread quietly through their circles, becoming a beacon of hope and resilience. Maxwell continued to expand his business empire, yet he never forgot the night when he was stripped of everything and then rescued by a simple, selfless act. And Rachel, having risen from the challenges of her past, emerged as a symbol of strength and determination, her journey a constant reminder that even in the most desperate of circumstances, a spark of compassion can light the way toward a brighter future. Years later, as Maxwell sat in his expansive office overlooking the glittering skyline of New York City, he would often pause to reflect on that fateful night in Istanbul and the extraordinary twist of fate that had brought him together with Rachel. In quiet moments of introspection, he marveled at how a single act of generosity had set in motion a series of events that not only rescued him from despair, but also transformed the life of an unassuming young woman. For Maxwell, the lesson was clear. True wealth was not measured by the size of one's bank account, but by the depth of one's humanity. And so, in a world often dominated by ambition and the relentless pursuit of success, the story of Maxwell Drake and Rachel Summers endured. A story that celebrated the timeless truth that even the smallest gestures of kindness can have ripple effects that change lives in ways no one could have ever imagined. Their bond, forged in the crucible of hardship and tempered by genuine care, became a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring power of compassion. As the years passed, Rachel's career continued to flourish, and she became a respected figure within the hospitality industry, a leader whose warmth and dedication inspired countless others. Maxwell, ever the mentor, remained a steadfast friend and advocate, his belief in the transformative power of kindness never wavering. Together, they worked to create opportunities for those who had been overlooked by society, establishing initiatives and charitable programs that extended a helping hand to the less fortunate. Their legacy, built on the simple yet profound act of paying it forward, touched the lives of many, proving that even in the face of adversity, hope and compassion can prevail. One bright spring morning, as sunlight filtered softly through the windows of a bustling community center in Lower Manhattan, Maxwell and Rachel hosted a small ceremony to celebrate the launch of a new initiative, a program dedicated to providing career training and support for individuals striving to overcome obstacles in their lives. The room was filled with laughter, hopeful chatter, and the sense that something truly transformative was taking place. In his opening remarks, Maxwell spoke passionately about the importance of kindness and the power of a single act to change the course of one's destiny. "There was a night when I had lost everything," he said, his voice resonant with emotion, "and it was the generosity of one remarkable person that lifted me from the depths of despair. Today, we honor that spirit by empowering others to rise above their challenges and build a future filled with dignity and hope." Rachel, standing beside him, added softly, "I was once in a position where I felt invisible and lost. And a single moment of kindness changed everything for me. I promise to always pay it forward and help others discover the strength within themselves." The applause that followed was heartfelt and sustained, a collective affirmation of their shared belief in the transformative power of compassion. In quiet moments later that day, as Maxwell and Rachel sat together on a park bench overlooking the Hudson River, they reflected on the twists of fate that had brought them together. Maxwell's eyes glistened with the memory of that fateful night in Istanbul, and Rachel's heart swelled with gratitude for the opportunity to rewrite her own story. "It's amazing," Maxwell mused softly, "how a single act of kindness can change everything. That night, I was at my lowest, and you helped me find my way. I will never forget what you did for me, and I will continue to honor your generosity by making the world a better place for others." Rachel smiled through tears, replying, "And I will never forget that you saw me not as a burden, but as someone with potential. Your belief in me has given me the strength to dream bigger than I ever thought possible." Their conversation, interwoven with memories and promises of future endeavors, reaffirmed the truth that true success was not measured by material wealth, but by the connections we forge and the lives we touch. Maxwell and Rachel understood that, even in a world obsessed with profit and power, the most enduring legacy is one of kindness, compassion, and the willingness to lift others up. In the months and years that followed, their efforts bore fruit. Maxwell's restaurants thrived, not only for their exquisite cuisine, but for the culture of empathy and community they fostered under Rachel's capable leadership. Charitable programs expanded, giving opportunities to hundreds of individuals who had once felt marginalized by society. Maxwell, who had once been robbed of everything on a dark Istanbul night, found that the richest rewards were those that came from helping others. And Rachel, once a struggling waitress with little hope for the future, emerged as a beacon of strength, inspiring everyone around her with her unwavering commitment to pay kindness forward. As twilight descended on another busy day in New York City, Maxwell sat in his office, a sleek, modern space with panoramic views of the city's twinkling lights, and reflected on the journey that had brought him to this moment. In his heart, he carried the memory of that long-ago night, a night that had seemed so dark and desperate, yet which had ultimately led him to discover the true measure of wealth. the love and kindness that people share with one another. He often mused, "No amount of money or success can ever replace the warmth of a compassionate heart." And he resolved that, regardless of the pressures of his high-powered world, he would always remain true to the values that had once saved him. Meanwhile, Rachel continued to forge her own path. With every new challenge she overcame, she became more determined to honor the promise she had made to always pay it forward. Whether mentoring young employees or volunteering at community centers, she embraced every opportunity to spread the message that a small act of kindness can indeed change the course of someone's life. Her story, shared quietly among friends and family, and eventually amplified by local media, became an inspiring narrative of resilience and hope, a living reminder that even in the midst of hardship, a single generous gesture can spark a chain reaction of positive change. Maxwell and Rachel's intertwined destinies eventually became a powerful symbol of what is possible when compassion triumphs over adversity. Their story was recounted at conferences, featured in magazines, and even discussed in boardrooms, where decisions were made about corporate social responsibility. In every retelling, the central truth remained unchanged, that true wealth is measured not by the assets one accumulates, but by the capacity to connect with others and to offer support in times of need. As the years rolled on, Maxwell's empire grew larger and his influence more widespread, yet he never allowed himself to forget the lesson of that fateful night. Whenever he felt the pressures of a demanding business world, he would think back to the moment when a young woman's kindness had rescued him from despair. And whenever he encountered someone in need, he made sure to extend a hand, remembering that even the smallest gesture could be the spark that ignites a lifetime of hope. In the quiet hours of a late winter night, after the city had settled into a serene hush, Maxwell took a solitary walk along a familiar boulevard. The crisp air, laden with the promise of renewal, carried with it memories of that transformative encounter. He recalled every detail: the fear in his eyes as he was cornered in that dark alley, the overwhelming sense of isolation when he was abandoned on a bustling street, and finally, the gentle, unassuming smile of Rachel as she'd brought him a warm meal and a comforting word. It was these memories, he knew, that had rekindled his belief in the goodness of people, and he vowed once again that he would honor that kindness by paying it forward whenever the opportunity arose. Rachel, for her part, continued to evolve in her role, her professional and personal growth a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The challenges she had faced, losing her job, struggling to make ends meet, and confronting the uncertainty of life, had all led her to a new beginning. With Maxwell's mentorship and the newfound confidence that came from knowing her own worth, she blossomed into a leader who inspired others not only with her skills, but with her compassion. Her story, a narrative of transformation and hope, became a beacon for those who believed that no matter how dire the circumstances, there was always a chance to rise again. In a world that often seemed preoccupied with power, status, and profit, the tale of Maxwell Drake and Rachel Summers stood as a quiet, yet unyielding reminder that the most profound impacts on our lives come not from grand gestures, but from the simple human moments of empathy and support. Their journey, marked by the collision of disparate worlds, the vulnerability of loss, and the redemptive power of kindness, reaffirmed a timeless truth: that every one of us, regardless of our station, has the capacity to change the world with a single, selfless act. And so, as the seasons continued their eternal cycle, Maxwell and Rachel dedicated themselves to a shared mission: to build a legacy that transcended material success and celebrated the enduring value of compassion. Their endeavors not only transformed their own lives, but also sowed seeds of hope in the hearts of countless others. In boardrooms, in community centers, and on quiet street corners across the city, the ripple effects of their story could be felt. A story that began on a dark night in a foreign city and blossomed into a testament of human resilience and love. As dusk turned to night on another busy day in New York City, Maxwell sat by his office window, the twinkling skyline a tapestry of hope and possibility. He thought back to that transformative night with a profound sense of gratitude, realizing that the most meaningful successes in life are measured by the love and care we extend to others. And in that reflective moment, he made a silent promise to himself to continue nurturing the bonds of kindness that had once saved him, and to always remember that no matter how far one rises, the light of compassion is the truest guide. This is the story of how one chance encounter in the depths of despair led to a lifelong journey of healing, growth, and the unwavering belief that even the smallest acts of kindness can echo through eternity. Maxwell Drake and Rachel Summers, a billionaire humbled by misfortune and a young woman whose generosity transformed a life, demonstrated that in a world often dominated by the pursuit of wealth and power, it is the human connections we forge that ultimately define our legacy. Their lives, forever intertwined by fate and the unyielding power of empathy, continue to inspire all who believe that every setback can be overcome, and that every life, no matter how seemingly ordinary, holds within it the potential for extraordinary change. And so, as the story of Maxwell and Rachel is told time and time again, one truth remains undeniable: that in every act of selfless compassion lies the seed of transformation. A seed that, when nurtured, can blossom into a legacy of hope, resilience, and the timeless power of the human spirit.